Chosen one, the tables have turned in ways no human hand could orchestrate. The very group that once gathered with confidence, plotting under low whispers and false smiles, now trembles beneath the weight of their own deceit. The same tongues that spoke against you now bite each other in panic. The same hands that joined to pull you down now push one another away in desperation. You didn't need to lift a finger. The universe handled it on your behalf. Every lie spoken in the dark is now screaming in the light, and the ones who once felt untouchable can feel the ground cracking beneath their feet. There was a time when their laughter was loud, their gossip constant, their alliance firm. But alliances built on envy never last. What held them together was not truth. It was their shared desire to see you fall. And because that foundation was rotten, collapse was inevitable. Now they scramble, each one trying to rewrite their role in the story, pretending innocence as their own words betray them. You can almost feel the chaos in the air, conversations turning sharp, messages left unread, alliances turning into accusations. Their unity was an illusion, and illusions cannot survive in the presence of divine light. And as for the ringleader, the one who stirred the pot, who wore charisma as a mask and manipulation as a crown, this is their hour of reckoning. The same crowd they once commanded now looks at them with suspicion. The same people who obeyed their lies now question their motives. You were once their common target. Now they are each other's. The one who once shouted the loudest against you has lost their voice, their control, their following. They are realizing too late that betrayal is a boomerang. It always circles back to the one who threw it. You stood silent while they screamed. You stayed still while they schemed. And that silence, that peace, became your greatest weapon. Your calm unnerved them more than any retaliation could. Because deep down, even they could feel that something greater was protecting you, that there was a force beyond comprehension surrounding you. You carried divine stillness in the face of noise, and it unsettled every demon that rose against you. Now, that stillness echoes like thunder. Chosen one, what's unfolding before your eyes is not just karma, it's divine order. You didn't need revenge. Truth became your advocate. You didn't have to expose anyone. Time did it for you. One by one, the masks are slipping. The ringleader's charm has turned to dust. The follower's loyalty has turned to fear. Each of them is now looking for a way out, desperate to escape a sinking ship they helped build. They are discovering what you already knew: what's rooted in darkness cannot survive the light. And so, as they turn on each other, don't gloat. Don't look back with bitterness. Simply observe. What you're witnessing is divine justice in motion, the rebalancing of energies long overdue. The scales are tipping, not because you demanded it, but because you stayed aligned. Every false narrative, every whispered plot, every secret plan, they've all met their expiration date. Their fall is not your victory, it's your vindication. The truth is revealing itself, and it's revealing you in the same moment. You were never the villain they painted you to be. You were the mirror that reflected their shadows. You were the light that revealed what they tried to hide. And now, as their empire of deceit collapses from within, your presence remains untouchable, steady, radiant. The ringleader thought they could use others as weapons, but all they did was create their own undoing. What they meant for destruction became the blueprint for your awakening. So stand tall, chosen one. Keep walking in silence, for your silence is sacred. Every storm they sent your way only strengthened your roots. Every betrayal only purified your path. You didn't lose anything, they did. You gained peace. You gained clarity. You gained proof that divine protection is louder than any conspiracy. Let them turn on each other. You've already risen above the noise. The exposure has begun, and the downfall has already started. What's crumbling now is not your story, it's theirs. Loyalty built on lies was always destined to shatter, and now it has. What was once disguised as unity has revealed itself as desperation. People clinging to each other not out of love, but out of fear. They swore allegiance to an illusion, and when truth entered the room, their alliance could not withstand its light. Chosen one, you never had to fight them. You never had to match their schemes with your own. You simply had to stay still, stay true, and let divine order speak on your behalf. What they didn't realize is that the moment they plotted in deceit, their own downfall began ticking like a hidden clock. You didn't lift a finger to cause this. You didn't beg to be understood, nor did you rush to correct every rumor that carried your name. You trusted that time would do what words could not. You knew that silence was not weakness, it was strategy. Because when you are divinely guided, your restraint becomes your armor. Every attack they sent your way was absorbed by the stillness that surrounded you. They mistook your calm for surrender, but it was the calm before revelation. Your silence, chosen one, thundered through their lies louder than any defense could. You spoke with energy, not explanation. You let truth echo through your composure. While they shouted, you meditated. While they plotted, you prayed. While they built webs of confusion, you simply existed in peace, and that peace made their chaos crumble. They could not understand why their words had no power over you, why their manipulation didn't land, why their gossip lost its sting. But you knew, when God defends you, even silence becomes a sword. Your peace disrupted their plans. It disarmed every weapon aimed at your heart. They expected you to react, to lash out, to crumble, but you did none of that. Instead, you radiated calm, and that calm became their undoing. They gathered strength from your pain, but when pain no longer touched you, their strength disappeared. They gathered to discuss you, but when your energy withdrew, the meetings became meaningless. You see, you were the fuel for their illusion. The moment you stopped feeding it, the illusion collapsed. Now, they're left in confusion, trying to understand how everything fell apart when you did nothing. But that's the power of divine alignment. God can use your stillness as judgment. Your peace was not passive, it was prophetic. It disrupted spiritual frequencies they didn't even know they were tapping into. It unmasked intentions, reversed energies, and returned everything that was sent your way back to its sender. So don't question why you were called to be silent. Silence was your assignment. Your stillness was your statement. It proved that truth never needs to shout. It simply stands and lets falsehood destroy itself. You weren't ignoring the chaos. You were transcending it. You understood that when the divine has already spoken, no human voice can override it. That's why your calm presence felt like a storm to them. It confronted every lie without a word. Chosen one, understand this. Peace is not the absence of battle, it's the mastery of it. You mastered the storm by becoming the stillness within it. Every time you refused to react, you exposed another layer of their deception. Every time you chose silence, truth grew louder. Every time you walked away, energy realigned in your favor. What they thought was your weakness became your greatest weapon, And now they're witnessing the result, an unraveling of everything they built against you. Loyalty built on lies cannot stand before someone built on truth. And you, chosen one, are truth in motion. Your peace wasn't quiet, it was a frequency too high for deceit to survive in. That's why they couldn't understand you. That's why their plans dissolved the moment you chose serenity over struggle. You didn't just win, you transcended. You let your spirit fight for you while your body rested. And now, the world sees what you already knew: your peace is power, and your silence is divine authority. Your success was the silent signal that awakened their envy. Your growth, the proof that divine favor rested upon you, became the one thing they could not ignore. They didn't gather against you because you failed, they gathered because you flourished. They saw the light of promise glowing around you, and it unsettled the shadows living within them. Your rise exposed their stagnation. Your elevation mirrored what they refused to become. Chosen one, you didn't even realize the impact your presence had. You were just growing, healing, doing what you were guided to do. But in your becoming, you stirred every insecure spirit around you. They didn't hate you for what you did. They hated you for what your existence revealed. They saw your tree. Before you even recognized its roots, they saw it sprouting, tall, wide, unshakable. They saw that what you carried wasn't ordinary. It was generational. The shade your life would one day provide terrified those who thrived on competition and scarcity. They could sense that what God placed within you wasn't temporary success. It was legacy. It wasn't a passing season. It was divine permanence. You were chosen to build something that would outlast trends, titles, and time itself. And that realization burned them, because deep down, they wanted the same calling without the same consecration. They gathered not because they were united in purpose, but because they were united in fear. You became the common thread in their insecurity. Each one of them saw in you the reflection of what they could have been had they stayed obedient, pure, and faithful to their own paths. But instead of learning from your light, they tried to dim it. Instead of nurturing their own soil, they tried to uproot yours. They wanted your fruits without your fasting, your harvest without your hardship. But divine law cannot be manipulated. Every seed produces after its kind, and you were growing something holy. Chosen one, you must understand this. When God plants a seed inside you, it does not ask for permission to grow. It expands quietly, daily, until one morning you realize you've outgrown the spaces that once contained you. That's what's happening now. Those seeds inside you, the dreams, the wisdom, the resilience, the gifts, have outgrown the pots people tried to keep you in. What once fit no longer does. What once held you now cracks beneath your expansion. This growth was not rebellion, it was destiny. And your expansion exposed every soul that preferred you small. They feared your tree because it was evidence of God's hand. They feared your branches because they stretched beyond what they could control. They feared your shade because it offered rest to others they didn't want you to bless. But no one can curse what God has consecrated. No amount of gossip can uproot divine planting. They forgot that your soil was not ordinary ground, it was sacred territory watered by tears, sacrifice, and obedience. Every attempt to bury you only pushed your roots deeper. Every attack that tried to strip your leaves only made your foundation stronger. And now, those roots have broken through the limits they placed around you. You've become too vast to be hidden, too established to be shaken. The same mouths that mocked your beginnings now whisper about your breakthroughs. The same eyes that rolled at your progress now watch in awe as you bear fruit they cannot deny. You were never competing with them. You were cultivating something within yourself that was meant to feed nations. But because they couldn't see beyond their own jealousy, they mistook your purpose for pride. Chosen one, the tree within you has outgrown you because what you carry is bigger than your lifetime. You were chosen to start something that others will finish. The branches of your obedience will extend far beyond your reach. The fruits of your faith will nourish people you will never meet. That's why the resistance was so fierce. Because heaven entrusted you with something eternal. You were not sent to merely succeed, you were sent to sustain. So don't shrink to fit old environments. Don't apologize for outgrowing people who refuse to grow with you. Trees don't fold their branches to make room for weeds. They rise, and by doing so, they create balance in the ecosystem around them. Your success is divine evidence. Your growth is sacred warfare. What was planted in you was never meant to stay hidden. It was meant to expand, to overflow, to multiply. And though others may fear it, heaven celebrates it. You are the living manifestation of God's promise. The roots beneath you are ancient, the branches above you are eternal. You are not just bearing fruit, you are becoming a forest. Every limitation has been broken, every boundary surpassed. They saw your tree and trembled, but they were right to tremble. Because what God has grown in you is unstoppable, untouchable, and undeniable. The seeds have outgrown you, chosen one, and now the world must witness the harvest. The group that once moved in unison against you now walks in silence, unable to even meet each other's eyes. The same energy that united them in betrayal has turned inward, devouring its own source. Where there was once laughter, there is tension. Where there were whispers, there is now avoidance. What once looked like camaraderie has become a battlefield of regret. Each one now feels the weight of their choices pressing down like judgment. They can't sit at the same table, can't share the same air, can't pretend the lie was ever worth it. The illusion that they were strong together has shattered into fragments too sharp to hold. Partnerships have ended, some abruptly, some quietly. The trust that bound them together was counterfeit, and now that the truth has surfaced, it has dissolved completely. You can almost hear the sound of it breaking, the subtle crack of betrayal turning inward. Contracts that were formed in secret, built on manipulation and mutual disdain for you, have all fallen apart. Every hidden agenda, every alliance formed behind closed doors has come undone in divine timing. What was hidden has been brought to light, and the exposure has been merciless. Friendships have dissolved into suspicion. They look at one another now and wonder, who started it? Who betrayed who first? The gossip that once connected them has become poison, and each sip of that poison now burns the throat that once spread it. The same words they used to destroy your reputation have become the words that dismantled their own. Lies are never loyal. They always find their way back home. And now, everyone is realizing that loyalty built on gossip was nothing more than a house of sand, and the tide of truth has come in to wash it away. Lovers have broken apart. Homes once filled with laughter are now filled with silence and slammed doors. Relationships that were built on shared deceit are now collapsing under the weight of exposure. Someone's heart is heavy not because they miss love, but because they see the reflection of who they became in the name of hate. One by one, the connections that felt unbreakable have been tested, and none have survived. You see, love cannot thrive in the soil of conspiracy. When the motive is impure, the bond will always decay. And now, those who laugh together at your expense weep separately in their own corners of loss. Contracts, spiritual and physical, are breaking. Those who joined forces to steal your energy, your ideas, your light, are now trapped in the consequences of their own binding words. The deals made in deceit have expired, and what they signed with malice has been rewritten by divine justice. Every promise made in darkness has been voided by truth's arrival. Where they once stood confident, they now stand exposed. Their unity was built on falsehood, and truth has no mercy for foundations that were never pure. They never realized that by coming together against you, they were signing their own downfall. They aligned themselves not with power, but with pretense. And pretense cannot sustain itself when faced with purity. Every alliance built on mutual hatred carries a curse. It cannot endure, because it has no true source of strength. The vibration of lies cannot coexist with the frequency of truth. And since truth is now reigning, every false bond must fall. Chosen one, you didn't have to fight back. You didn't have to expose them, their own actions became their exposure. The energy they sent toward you has ricocheted back into their own circle. They are now tasting the bitterness they brewed for you. The room where they once gathered to plan your downfall is now a graveyard of friendships. The laughter has stopped. The unity has vanished. The joy they found in your pain has been replaced by the pain of their own undoing. They are realizing, painfully and slowly, that gossip is a double-edged sword. It entertains for a moment, but it kills trust forever. And once trust dies, so does every relationship attached to it. Now they sit in the silence of their own making, surrounded by the ruins of what they called loyalty. That loyalty was never real, it was just shared resentment, dressed up as companionship. And now, stripped bare, the truth has left them naked in the eyes of one another. You, on the other hand, didn't need to prove your innocence. You simply continued to grow, and your growth itself became the verdict. While their structures fell apart, yours solidified. While their hearts hardened, yours healed. What once seemed like a circle of power has been revealed as a web of fear, and one by one, the spiders are caught in their own threads. This is divine law at work. When something is built against light, it cannot stand. So stand tall, chosen one, and observe the unraveling without bitterness. Every broken connection, every exposed betrayal, every dissolved alliance is evidence that truth has done its work. You didn't cause it, truth did. You didn't fight for vengeance, light did. And now, the storm has cleared, leaving only what was real standing. Loyalty built on gossip has crumbled under the weight of truth, and what remains is pure, unshakable, and divinely aligned with you. For some of you, God allowed the storm, not to break you, but to awaken what was already within you. The group that rose against you didn't know they were stepping into divine choreography. Every word, every plot, every attack they sent your way was written into your story before you even knew it began. You weren't meant to fight, you were meant to witness. The divine allowed it because you needed to see who you truly were when everything was stripped away, when you had no one to defend you, no one to speak for you, no one to validate your truth but God Himself. And in that stillness, your spirit was fortified. You didn't fight back. You didn't need to. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was spiritual warfare of the highest order. While they gathered their weapons of gossip, manipulation, and deceit, you gathered something they could never access: peace. You stood still when everything around you shook, and that stillness became your shield. You may not have realized it then, but the moment you refused to engage in their chaos, heaven took your case. You handed over the battle without even knowing it, and the divine court went into session. Heaven fought for you in ways you couldn't see. Conversations that were meant to destroy you began to crumble under confusion. Plans that were crafted in secret started collapsing under divine interference. Doors that were slammed in your face were quietly reopened elsewhere. Every rejection was redirection. Every betrayal was realignment. What looked like isolation was actually insulation. God was pulling you away from the noise so you could hear His strategy clearly. And as they moved in their schemes, you were being moved into your purpose. Understand this. Sometimes God allows the crowd to gather not to harm you, but to announce you. Just as Pharaoh's army chased Moses into the Red Sea, your enemies were permitted to follow you only so that God could make a statement through their downfall. Their presence was necessary for your testimony. The divine doesn't expose your enemies early. He lets them build confidence, lets them believe they've won, lets them climb their tower of pride higher and higher, because He knows exactly how and when to bring it all down. And one by one, their structures fell. Every alliance, every false agreement, every trap, they all collapsed under the weight of their own deceit. What they built on your name was never built to last, because it wasn't built on truth. The energy they used to try and bind you became the very energy that bound them. The tower they constructed, stone by stone, gossip by gossip, ego by ego, it came crashing down under divine gravity. And you didn't have to touch a single brick. The fall was poetic. The same mouths that spoke your downfall are now speaking confusion. The same hands that tried to control your destiny are now scrambling to hold on to their own. The same tower that once cast a shadow over your name has now collapsed into dust, leaving them standing in the ruins of their own intentions. That's what divine justice looks like. It doesn't just restore you, it reveals what was never real. And you, chosen one, you stood there through it all, calm, silent, misunderstood, but protected. Heaven didn't need your words, it needed your faith. Every tear you cried was a prayer. Every moment you wanted to fight back but didn't was recorded as obedience. Every silent night you endured became spiritual currency that heaven used to overturn verdicts made against you. You didn't lose anything, you were being positioned. You didn't miss your moment, it was being prepared for you. Now you stand on the other side of that collapse. The air feels different. The weight has lifted. You can finally breathe because you're no longer surrounded by the noise of those who sought to bury you. What they didn't understand was that burying you only planted you. And what they thought was an ending was actually your resurrection. The tower they built on your name is gone, but you remain. Their stories have crumbled, but your truth stands. Their plans failed, but your destiny unfolds. You have emerged not just victorious, but transformed, proof that when heaven fights for you, no weapon, no word, no witchcraft, no whisper can stand. You are not just surviving what they did, you are thriving because of what they did. Every attack was converted into strength. Every lie became a stepping stone. Every betrayal redirected you closer to divine alignment. And now, those who once mocked your silence will witness the power of what that silence built. So lift your head, chosen one. What was meant to destroy you was simply used to display you. The battle you didn't fight revealed the God who did. And now, as the dust settles and the noise fades, one truth remains unshaken: heaven always defends its own. What they tried to bury became the very seed that grew your empire. Every attempt to silence you, every scheme to erase your name, every whisper meant to dim your light, none of it destroyed you. It only pushed your roots deeper. When they buried you, they didn't realize they were fulfilling prophecy. They thought it was an ending, but God called it a beginning. The soil they covered you with was heavy, but it was holy. It was in that darkness, in that pressure, that you began to transform. What they meant as a grave became your garden. What they meant for shame became your stage. You were never buried, you were planted. Every blocked door became an instruction from heaven. Not this way, this way. What they closed, God redirected. The rejection that once made you question your worth was really divine redirection in disguise. Every time you faced resistance, you were being rerouted towards something greater, something that could never be taken from you. They thought shutting you out would stop you, but it only taught you how to build your own doors, your own tables, your own path. They thought denying you access would humble you, but it only taught you mastery. And now, every locked gate they tried to keep you from has been replaced by open fields that no one can claim but you. Every attack uncovered another level of your anointing. You didn't realize it while it was happening, how every betrayal, every lie, every loss was refining you, activating dormant parts of your spirit. The pain became your teacher. The warfare became your training ground. You discovered your strength by surviving what was meant to break you. Every dart they threw only sharpened your discernment. Every rumor forced you deeper into truth. Every heartbreak stripped away illusion until only authenticity remained. You learned to hear God clearly because every human voice around you turned false. You learned to trust your intuition because manipulation tried to twist your perception. And through it all, the divine upgraded your vision, your calling, your anointing. They thought they were attacking your life, but they were actually revealing your purpose. Every time someone tried to block your progress, heaven turned it into a setup for elevation. You outgrew environments that once kept you small. You outshined narratives that were meant to define you. You outlasted every season of sabotage because your roots were connected to something eternal. While they were busy trying to destroy your reputation, God was building your legacy. Now your growth can't be hidden anymore. The same people who doubted you can no longer deny you. What was once whispered in secret is now seen in the open. You carry an energy that can't be ignored. Now you stand on the other side of that collapse. The air feels different. The weight has lifted. You can finally breathe because you're no longer surrounded by the noise of those who sought to bury you. What they didn't understand was that burying you only planted you. And what they thought was an ending was actually your resurrection. The tower they built on your name is gone, but you remain. Their stories have crumbled, but your truth stands. Their plans failed, but your destiny unfolds. You have emerged not just victorious, but transformed, proof that when heaven fights for you, no weapon, no word, no witchcraft, no whisper can stand. You are not just surviving what they did, you are thriving because of what they did. Every attack was converted into strength. Every lie became a stepping stone. Every betrayal redirected you closer to divine alignment. And now, those who once mocked your silence will witness the power of what that silence built. So lift your head, chosen one. What was meant to destroy you was simply used to display you. The battle you didn't fight revealed the God who did. And now, as the dust settles and the noise fades, one truth remains unshaken: heaven always defends its own. What they tried to bury became the very seed that grew your empire. Every attempt to silence you, every scheme to erase your name, every whisper meant to dim your light, none of it destroyed you. It only pushed your roots deeper. When they buried you, they didn't realize they were fulfilling prophecy. They thought it was an ending, but God called it a beginning. The soil they covered you with was heavy, but it was holy. It was in that darkness, in that pressure, that you began to transform. What they meant as a grave became your garden. What they meant for shame became your stage. You were never buried, you were planted. Every blocked door became an instruction from heaven. Not this way, this way. What they closed, God redirected. Every lie, every manipulation, every illusion they built to make you doubt yourself shattered. Because awareness is power. And when you became aware of who you are, the enemy's hold collapsed under the weight of your awakening. Now your silence commands respect. You no longer explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You don't chase validation. You don't plead for recognition. You've learned that silence is not weakness, it's strategy. Your stillness speaks volumes because it carries the authority of someone who knows their worth. You don't need to raise your voice when your energy already speaks louder than any argument. People feel your presence before you even enter the room. They sense the shift, the weight, the calm power that surrounds you. It's the peace of someone who's been through war and survived with grace. Your presence shakes rooms now. Not because you're trying to dominate, but because truth carries vibration. When you walk in, pretenders get uncomfortable, liars get exposed, and masks begin to slip. The light within you disturbs anything built on deceit. You don't even have to say a word, your energy does the talking. Every step you take carries alignment. Every glance you give carries discernment. People don't know whether to be drawn to you or to fear you, because your spirit demands authenticity. You are no longer someone to be played with. You are someone to be respected. And your peace terrifies chaos. The same energy that used to be triggered by storms now stills them. You don't react, you respond. You don't panic, you perceive. You don't fight for control, you embody it. You've reached a place where you no longer match energies, you set them. Your peace isn't passive, it's prophetic. It announces that nothing outside of you has power over what's within you. The storms around you can rage, but they can't touch the calm inside you. That calm is divine. It's anchored in the truth that you are chosen, protected, and purpose-led. Now chaos avoids you. Not because it can't reach you, but because it can't affect you. You've become untouchable in spirit. The same demons that once taunted you now tremble at your stillness. The same people who once fed on your reactions now choke on your silence. Because you've learned that real power doesn't need to prove itself, it simply is. You found out who you are, divine, destined, unstoppable. And when you remembered that truth, the enemy remembered its place, beneath your feet. The ringleader is being exposed. The mask is slipping. The charm that once convinced everyone is cracking under the weight of truth. The same mouth that whispered poison now trembles trying to defend itself. The same hands that built traps for others are now caught in their own web. You didn't have to lift a finger. Truth did all the work. Exposure isn't loud, it's divine. It moves quietly, surgically, dismantling deception piece by piece until nothing remains but what's real. The ringleader who once stood at the center of attention is now standing alone in the spotlight, forced to answer for every lie, every manipulation, every false alliance. The group dismantled itself. You didn't destroy them, they imploded. Because anything built on deceit can't survive in the presence of divine order. Every alliance forged in gossip began to crack. Every secret meeting turned into confrontation. The same voices that once joined together against you now argue among themselves. Loyalty built on lies always eats itself alive. The energy they send out circled back, and now they're trapped inside the chaos they created. They can't even stand to look at one another. Their unity dissolved, their foundation collapsed, their purpose vanished the moment you stopped engaging. Without your energy, their whole mission lost meaning. And you stood in truth. You didn't retaliate. You didn't explain yourself. You didn't fight to be understood. You let truth reveal itself, and it did. You held your peace when they expected you to crumble. You stayed grounded while they fell apart. That's the divine paradox. Your strength wasn't in what you did, it was in what you refused to do. You refused to lower your vibration. You refused to match their chaos. You refused to betray your own spirit. Standing still became your warfare. Silence became your weapon. Integrity became your armor. You are the catalyst. The moment you stepped into alignment, every false foundation around you began to shake. You are the test that exposes intentions. You are the mirror that reveals what's hidden. Simply by being who you are, you activated change, not by force, but by frequency. Every environment you enter either rises to meet your energy, or crumbles beneath its weight. That's the power of divine presence. You don't seek revenge, your existence restores balance. You don't chase validation, truth confirms you. You don't have to prove you're chosen, life testifies on your behalf. You are the chosen one, the anointed vessel, the one who carries light in a world addicted to illusion. You didn't ask for this role, you were born into it. Your journey was never about revenge or recognition, it was about revelation. You were the divine interruption sent to expose the counterfeit, to awaken the sleeping, to separate the real from the false. Every trial, every betrayal, every moment of isolation was preparation for this revelation. You were never the victim, you were the vessel. Now the world sees what heaven always knew. The same people who underestimated you now witness what divine favor looks like. You don't walk with arrogance, you walk with awareness. You don't lead with ego, you lead with light. You are the living proof that truth doesn't need an army, it only needs alignment. The exposure, the dismantling, the collapse, none of it was punishment. It was prophecy. And now, the ringleader falls. The false alliances scatter. The noise fades. And you remain, standing, radiant, chosen. If this message speaks to your soul, amplify it, so other chosen ones can find it. Truth always wins, and divine justice always arrives. You have carried truth in silence for so long that your spirit learned how to roar without sound. You've walked through storms without a map, through betrayal without bitterness, through loss without losing yourself. And yet, here you are. Stronger. Clearer. Lighter. The world once mistook your quiet for weakness, but silence was never your surrender. It was your strategy. Because heaven heard what you couldn't say aloud. Every tear, every prayer whispered into the dark, Every moment you thought no one saw you was seen. You were not invisible. You were being protected while the stage of justice was being built around you. And now, the curtains are lifting. For years, energies gathered in secret rooms, voices whispering against your name, hoping that if they repeated the lie long enough, it would eclipse the truth. But lies decay quickly under the weight of divine light. What they built in shadows was never meant to last. You didn't have to fight to expose them. Truth did that for you. You simply had to stand still while heaven aligned the consequences. Look around now. The ones who mocked your patience are beginning to understand why you were calm. The ones who celebrated your downfall are facing their own collapse. The ones who plotted your silence are now trapped in the noise of their own chaos. This is what divine justice looks like. It never rushes, it never misses. It arrives exactly when pride is highest, so the fall teaches what words never could. You were never chosen to destroy, you were chosen to reveal. Your presence alone was the test. When you walked into their lives, truth came with you. Masks cracked. Intentions surfaced. What they thought was control was actually exposure. Every act of manipulation only revealed their own reflection more clearly. You didn't need revenge because revelation was the sharpest sword. You didn't need proof because time became your witness. You didn't need to shout because destiny spoke louder on your behalf. Understand this: you were never outnumbered. You were surrounded by divine surveillance. Angels stood where you thought there was emptiness. Grace stood guard over your name. And while they tried to dim your light, heaven adjusted the brightness so even their shadows could not hide from it. Truth is relentless. It might arrive late in human timing, but it is never delayed in divine timing. The universe has its own courtroom, one where evidence is vibration and intention is the testimony. That is where your case was heard long before you ever spoke a word in defense. And the verdict has already been declared: you were always innocent. Every injustice against you became a seed in the soil of your destiny. The lies fertilized your purpose. The betrayal pushed you into isolation, and isolation became your anointing. While they were gathering gossip, you were gathering power. While they rehearsed rumors, you were rebirthing identity. You did not just survive their plots, you transcended them. And now, truth is doing what truth does best: it travels. It echoes. It finds its way into every corner of deceit until all that's left is clarity. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. Your evolution defends you. Every good thing happening in your life now is divine evidence. Your glow is testimony. Your peace is proof. Your progress is the final argument that heaven has ruled in your favor. You are not rising by coincidence, you are rising by divine decree. You see, when God wants to prove a point, He doesn't send thunder, He sends transformation. He doesn't argue with lies, He blesses you publicly until the lie dissolves on its own. That is what's happening now. There is a shift in motion, an energetic reversal. Every tongue that rose against you is tasting its own words. Every hand that pushed you down is learning what it feels like to fall. Not because you wished it, but because the universe must balance itself. You are not watching revenge. You are witnessing restoration. You are not celebrating their pain. You are celebrating the end of deception. Because divine justice is not about punishment, it's about correction. It returns energy to its rightful owner. And that means everything that was stolen from you, time, peace, reputation, opportunity, is circling back multiplied. The storm that was meant to bury you became the wind that lifted you. The darkness that tried to consume you became the backdrop for your light. Every delay became divine redirection. You didn't lose years, you invested them. You didn't lose love, you were protected from imitation. You didn't lose yourself, you met the real you beneath the rubble. And now, you carry a different frequency. People can feel it before you speak. Rooms shift when you walk in because your energy carries the proof of victory. You are peace walking, clarity breathing, truth embodied. You no longer explain, you exist. You no longer chase, you attract. You no longer fear endings, because you've seen what God can do with a grave. Your silence was not empty, it was sacred. It was where heaven whispered strategies that no enemy could intercept. It was where God rewrote the narrative that humans tried to ruin. And now, that divine silence has turned into sound, the sound of manifestation, the sound of recognition, the sound of justice fulfilled. Every chosen one reaches this moment. The moment when pain becomes wisdom. When betrayal becomes a mirror. When you stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Thank you." Because you realize nothing was wasted, not one tear, not one trial. The universe was never punishing you, it was preparing you. To carry light this bright, you had to learn how to hold weight this heavy. You had to know who you were without applause, without validation, without anyone standing beside you. Because when divine justice arrives, it often brings visibility, and visibility without identity becomes another trap. So heaven hid you until you were ready. And now, the unveiling has begun. The same ones who dismissed you will have to watch you walk into everything they said you'd never touch. Not for spite, but for testimony. The story isn't about them, it's about what grace can do when the world counts someone out. You are walking evidence that destiny cannot be delayed by deceit. You are living proof that divine timing is undefeated. You are the answer to the question, what happens when faith doesn't flinch? Because you never stopped believing, even when belief was painful. You kept showing up, even when doors stayed closed. You trusted that somewhere in the unseen, heaven was aligning what the human eye couldn't yet perceive. Now, the unseen is becoming visible. You'll notice it in small ways first. The peace that feels permanent, the opportunities that fit effortlessly, the faces that light up when you enter the room. That's how divine justice arrives, quietly, beautifully, undeniably. Then it expands until everyone who once doubted your destiny has to acknowledge what they cannot explain. You'll find yourself standing where you once only dreamed, speaking what you once only journaled, living what you once only prayed for. And the strangest part is, you'll feel no need to boast. You'll simply breathe gratitude. Because you'll know that none of it was luck, it was law. The spiritual law that says, what is meant for you can be delayed, resisted, or envied, but never denied. There is a divine network of chosen ones awakening right now, souls who walked through darkness and came out carrying light. This message is the signal. When you amplify it, you send out a call to those still in the fire. You remind them that justice is not a myth, that truth does not die in silence, that God is still defending His own in ways the human mind cannot comprehend. So amplify it. Speak it. Post it. Pray it. Let it reach the one who's still doubting their worth, the one who thinks silence means defeat, the one who's standing in the middle of exposure wondering if survival is possible. Remind them that survival isn't the end, resurrection is. This is divine justice, not loud, not cruel, but undeniable. It does not chase attention, it commands recognition. If this message speaks to your soul, amplify it. Let it echo through timelines, through algorithms, through hearts that still ache for validation. Let it reach the weary warriors who think silence means failure. Tell them silence means strategy. Tell them truth travels silently but strikes loudly. Tell them that divine justice doesn't run, it walks with perfect timing. Because in the end, truth always wins. And divine justice always arrives.